him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the Pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
He's at the top of the screen there.
And that is picked off. Dimitri
Let me remove that.
Hey!
Got to get you the triple hey. What a fantastic way to start the show. I don't know where I'm at. All right. My name is Ryan Tamori. Welcome to the Pit Press Live. Bunch of grumpy old men that listen to this show, Ed. You're not included in that.
I am old.
I didn't say that. 410, I need to have my reading comprehension, and I said check. Thanks for the medical help, Pit Press. You guys know that the world, even though I come from the land of print media, we're online. I can start this shit whenever. And Ed and I start talking when he joins because we haven't seen each other in a while. So there you go.
I'll tell you what, though, Jimmy H keeps us. Man, I love it. You know, Jimmy H is one of our loyal listeners, man. So got to give it to him.
I think that Ryan might be using a sundial. No, I don't use any Apple products. All Samsung. These random times are killing me. It's not random. You ever watch a show? They don't start it at the clock. Love the Pit Press. What an awesome show and a good group of dudes. And Tamori F the Mets. Go Dodgers. I'm going to start here before I get to you, Ed. Once again, this is a team that started 0-5, 24-36 at the end of May, and took your beloved Dodgers, who apparently are so good that they couldn't sweep the Mets, and took them to 6. Yeah, games 1 and 3 weren't that great. But I'm going to say this. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's nothing rigged. Nothing that I believe is rigged. The way Rob Manfred runs the MLB and how piss poor of a job he does, I can't believe I'm saying this. I am very excited for this World Series. Between the Dodgers and the Yankees, the firepower and the names that you have on both sides, it is very good for Major League Baseball. Don't let me get Kevin Mitchell on your ass, Ronnie Chavez. I love the Mets because of the history. And being a Mets fan is much more fun than being a Yankees fan. I'll say that. You want to go to a corporate event? Of all places, go to the Bronx. All right, we got a lot to get to today. I wanted to start off the show with the ending to that crazy game the other night. I was watching the game. It was a game that I was able to pay some attention to. Not a whole. I wasn't in tune on it, and very bizarre game, very entertaining game. But let me get to the people that pay the show to have me complain and bitch to the old men. Dulce River Bakery and Coffee, affordable solar, Turquoise Desert Tap Room, Hydro Bar, affordable service, heating and plumbing and air conditioning for your HVAC needs in the Albuquerque and Rio Rancho area. Affordable service has been in the industry in New Mexico since 1986 and is still locally owned. I was reading that way too fast. I want to do due diligence to our sponsors. During that time, they've served more than 40,000 customers, providing complete residential and light commercial HVAC services, including heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Affordable Service takes pride in its staff commitment to the Albuquerque and Rio Rancho community. 4:30 today, Ned James, former UNM quarterback, the year I was born. So guess that makes everybody old. After 5 o'clock, Rick Thompson and Ben Wysong will be joining us. Happy to have Ben on. And I want to apologize for no morning howl on Saturday. We were exhausted. Many people were out of town, so we just kiboshed it last second. I had kind of lost my voice from Vegas. And to one of the usual suspects, he's the voice of Western New Mexico and a Lobo fan since 1970. Mr. Ed Nunez. Ed, how you doing?
Good, Ryan. I just got a real quick comment. I got to give it to you. You're wearing your Mets stuff after they lost. That's a true fan. You've got your Giants stuff behind you. They lost 28-3. Last week I went to the gym and wore my Cowboys, shirt. And one lady said, and I don't even know her, you got a lot of nerve wearing that. And I said, yeah, it's I'm a fan. So I give it to you, man. You're taking some heat from our loyal listeners, and that's okay. You're still a fan, and you're still behind your team, and I applaud that, man.
That's why I purposely wore it. And my hat is a 47 hat. It's a newer one. It came out last year. To the baddest team in the history of mankind, between Mookie, the Kid, Nails, Kevin. 3 20-game winners. Ron Darling, Ben Ojeda, the Doctor, Dwight Gooden. Sid Fernandez was good.
Did Bobby Ojeda win 20?
They had 3 20-game winners that year.
I don't know. Ojeda won 20, man.
Yeah,
wow.
He won that year.
Yeah, Hojo, Howard Johnson. I mean, man, that was a Ray Knight's a hell of a
Ray
lineup.
Knight.
Yeah.
Ray Knight was the leader. If you've ever watched Once Upon a Time in Queens, Ray Knight was the leader. Howard Johnson, Keith Hernandez, my man Kevin Mitchell, who I always mention. If you've ever talked to him, is probably the scariest man on the planet.
Gary Carter, can't forget about him.
The Kid, Gary Carter, who is rest in peace. And they traded for him and Keith Hernandez. Gary Carter was in Montreal, and
yes, he was. You know what? Just a real quick comment on that. I know we got a lot of things to get to. That was a very, very tough-minded team. A lot of leaders on that team. There really was. Think about it. So yeah, that was a very good team. Don't know if they're better than my 77 Yankees, back in the day. Now it's the Yankees Dodgers rematch of 77, 78, and 81. 77 and 78 won by the Yankees. 81 in the strike shortened season won by the Dodgers. Should be interesting.
Steve Garvey, who I had the pleasure of meeting. I know many people. If you're a baseball enthusiast, I'm not trying to bore people, because the NBA is very exciting. Sorry, Ed. I know a lot of people. I would say the last 30, 40, 50 years would probably make the case for the 98 Yankees, who beat my Tony Gwynn Padres, my favorite player of all time. The Mets get shit on a lot. It's part of being a Mets fan. And I'm not saying this. I liked old new Yankee Stadium. New Yankee Stadium, they both opened Citi Field and New Yankee Stadium in 2009. Citi Field, and when you walk in, and they had the Jackie Robinson Rotunda behind home plate, and when you get off the train, either the 7 line or the Long Island, the ILRR, the Long Island Railroad, and you walk and you get in there. I think a lot of people question it, but you walk into Citi Field, it's great. Went to Shea several times. Shea was a dump, but as we all say, it was our dump. I love being a Mets fan. I grew up in a family full of Yankee fans. And my joke is I'm a Giants Yankees fan with my roots in central New Jersey because the 86 Mets won the World Series and the 1986 Giants won Super Bowl 21 in January of 87. And I was born 4 months later. So I was in my mother's womb. And I love the Knicks. I love the Knicks. I fell in love with the 1999 Knicks in the short striking season. And my grandfather, I don't think my step grandfather, Otto Blaszka, was not. You said there you go, Ed, with the Polish and the Hungarian Otto Blaszka. Was played minor league baseball. He was in a U-boat in the or he was in the Navy in the Atlantic during World War II. I don't think he was a Knicks fan, but he watched everything. I can remember watching Mets. He flipped back and forth between the Mets and the Yankees on SNY. And I don't think yet. Well, this is going 30 years ago, 27, 28 years ago. But I remember him kind of like, damn John Starks, 2 of 19, 2 of 17 and 94. I love history of stuff. I talk a lot of shit. I love those 2 Rocket teams. I talk a lot of crap to Cowboy fans. But deep down inside, because I love the history of the NFL, what those 2 teams in the 70s did and then the early 90s, I'm fascinated by it. I can't have these things without, I think, my hatred for the Phillies and I don't hate the Phillies when I bet on them, especially this year. And the Cowboys. I kind of like it now when they lose, but Ed, I'm on a tangent. I love the history of stuff.
Me too.
I'm still a Mets fan. The asteroid didn't hit the planet today. They were not supposed to be there. So I love it. I don't get really bummed. I was more mad at the Atlanta Falcons yesterday because I can't seem to pick a Seattle Seahawks game right when I lay money down on it. So I was more mad about that. I still show more love to Francisco Lindor because he played shortstop while Ohtani, he was hurt, did what he did. We know who's going to be NL MVP. There's no route. Before we get to Utah State and UNM, that's enough about my past. Let's get to the more comments. Grumpy old man. Do you know why the Mets are blue? It's Dutch, orange, and blue. I'm not going to take the dope. Grumpy old men keep Viagra in business. I have a funny story about Viagra. I'm not going to tell it. I love the show, but I actually wondered why a 3 to 6 minute intro. That's so we can allow people to join. There's a method to the madness. Anyway, the Lobo football game Saturday. Wow, it was incredible. So proud of the coaching staff and so happy for the players. We'll get into that. I posted on the interwebs that the Lobo defense is soft. People were saying how I wasn't a fan. I said they were. Oh, yeah, because you can't criticize UNM. You're a bad person when you do. That's why I'm public enemy number 1. Hi, Frank. I hope you're watching. I said they were soft. No, not that they didn't have heart. It's tough to watch them wrapped up. Loved the football game, though. Super pumped when they sealed it with the pick. Their defense is leaving every single ounce of talent on the field. It was a pleasure to be their fan. All right. So UNM escapes. It's probably one of the worst intros to any show ever. Well, UNM was down 38-23 with about, 5-10 minutes ago in the third quarter. They rallied. They looked very disinterested in the first half. For as bad as the defense has played, they essentially clinched the game on defense with a 4th down stop and a pick, which I give much credit to Dimitri Johnson with that. Ed, I wanted your thoughts because I've been talking for the last 10 minutes about the Metropolitans. Go ahead.
Well, Sean Ryder put it right. A wild 50-45 win. I was watching it my son and I, Nick and I, were watching together and sweating it a little bit because when it was 38-23 and the way the defense had played, we weren't sure they were going to get that stop. They rallied. Donovan Porter, Devin Dampier, another great game. 500 yards, 572 yards of offense. The teams combined for 1,055 yards on offense. Not a lot of stops. Dimitri Johnson, though, and I had mentioned this. This is a defense that doesn't get off the field on third down, doesn't get sacks, doesn't get interceptions. Dimitri Johnson read Petrus. He knew he was going there. Petrus went to the well one too many times, and Johnson made a great play to seal the game. Well, a strange call on 4th and 1. I thought Utah State made a strange call there, and New Mexico held. Made a great defensive play to hold. And Dampier, we'll talk to Ned James here in a little bit. It's the question now, is he the best quarterback, better than Donovan Porter-Ree, who was here a couple of years ago? It wasn't a couple, it's several years now.
No, it was 15, 16 years ago.
Several years now. Donovan Porter-Ree was a heck of a quarterback. We mentioned Stoney Case. Rocky Long was an option quarterback. Don Woods was actually an option quarterback here in 74 and then was a rookie of the year with the San Diego Chargers in 1974. But he was more 73 here at UNM, 74 with the Chargers. He's more of an option quarterback. So the question, and I hate to bring this up, but it's all over the airwaves. Jeff Symbieta said it this morning. What's the price tag going to be to keep Dampier here? And it's going to be, you mentioned, Ryan, I'd say 500,000 to $1 million. It's going to be a lot. He's played well, and you don't want to rain on the parade. I get it. They haven't won 3 in a row since 2016. Ryan Davis, how big of a catch was that? Huge catch. It really was. That might have saved the game too. No Naquari Rogers in the second half. Sanders and Jacob brought the hammer, man. They ran well. I thought the blocking schemes were good. Dampier again makes plays that, and Ned will be on here in a little bit to tell you. He's elusive. He should be sacked more. He gets out of them because he's got quick feet, keeps his eyes open down the field, and makes plays. So, again, a great win. Coach Mendenhall tearing up at the end. And it kind of surprised me a little bit because he's won big games at Virginia, at BYU. He's won some bigger games. But one of my friends said, I just talked to him a little bit. He's been a Lobo fan for as long as I have. And he says, hey, he believes in his kids. Emotion may have overcame him because people are telling him this wasn't a good job. Why did you go there? New Mexico can't win. And he said this in the press conference today, though. Sean Ryder asked him, are you ahead of, your timetable to where you thought you would be? No thought at all about that. We still got work to do. And they do. But it's a good start. They've got Colorado State this Saturday. They haven't beaten them since 2009. They're going on the road. Colorado State's won 2 of 3. They're going to have a big crowd there. So there's another challenge on the road for New Mexico. But, Ryan, I think you mentioned yourself that the schedule was favorable towards the latter part of the year, and we're seeing that. So they're 3-4, 2-1 in conference. They still have a chance to get to a bowl, man. They do. That's exciting. So I think for me and my son and I were really, really psyched that they won. And, it was a joyous moment in Lobo football land. We don't get a lot of that, but I think they're on their way. I really do. And hopefully they can keep winning this week against Colorado State and then at home next week against Wyoming. We'll see.
I didn't realize that the last time they beat Colorado State was 2009. The only team that Mike Loxley beat that year was Colorado State. And I believe they had a quarterback named Stump Godfrey.
Stump Godfrey, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't here that long. He was like player of the year. I don't understand these player of the year things because I think Devin Dampier was Gatorade player of the year and he ends up here. I don't understand what is going on in the rest of the country with that happening. The offense is fun to watch, man. It is. And Ed, I don't know if you answered this, and if you did, I apologize. Did you feel they looked disinterested in the first quarter?
I texted you that. I said it didn't look like they're ready to play. I thought Dampier's that's another thing though. He threw 3 interceptions and he overcame that. So the first interception was not a good one. And remember what Bill Parcells would always say: a quarterback, you don't know about them until they get their nose bloody. They throw 3 or 4 picks and then they come through with the win. So his first pick was not a good one. It wasn't. And you know what though? I thought and that's another thing. I didn't even mention that. They were down 17-0. And I thought, hey, but then that muff punt comes and they score. But yeah, they did seem not ready to play at first.
So We didn't do a morning show, but one of my picks was going to be over 78.5. I got it at 79. That's a lot of combined points. It was 50-45. So 3 straight games of 50 or more. And New Mexico has joined Miami for as much shit as I give Frank Mercogliano. I appreciate this. Some of his notes. New Mexico joins Miami, Florida as the only team with 3 straight games of 50 points this season. Appreciate that. And I was told that I'm not as tactful with my criticism of UNM about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. I have nothing left to say about the defense. They stepped up when they needed to, and I appreciate that. The defense still sucks. I have nothing else. I don't like to say things suck. Yeah, I stole that from Jim Rome. I mean, it felt like a little bit of the same old Lobos that we've seen. As of the end of that TCU Utah game, New Mexico ranks 131st out of 133 teams in total defense, with giving up 3,493 yards, almost 499 a game. They've given up 39 offensive TDs. The opposition has 39 TDs. So I don't think they've given up a special team TD. Utah is 132nd at 513 plays. They've given up over 3,500 yards. UNM is not the worst in the country when it comes to yards per play anymore. That belongs to Ball State at 7.72 yards. Before I give Ed James a call here, Ned James a call real quick. Ed, I mean, I don't think and I'll ask Ben Wysong this too. I'll ask Ned and Ben this. Is Devin Dampier is the offensive player of the year. If there was no Ashton Genty at Boise State, and Boise didn't play this week, so Devin Dampier is the Mountain West offensive player of the week. I will say this: it's nice to see from a football aspect that we have an accolade from the Mountain West, and I wanted your thoughts on that.
He's the Mountain West Conference Player of the Week, and I don't know when the last time that's happened for Lobo in football. It's been a while. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's great, and I think you're right. If Ashton Genty, who's having a great season, what a terrific running back he is, wasn't in the conference, Dampier would be getting even more, credit than he is. And I think it was Rick Thompson who does, research like crazy. He came up with a Patino thing at Mountain West Conference, what they were known as the shooters. That was, Rick's an amazing
Bambinos.
Yeah, Rick's an amazing researcher, man. So, I think you can make a case that he's the best quarterback in the conference. Yeah, I really do. And again, that's great. Any other time we'd be saying, great, great, great. But then there's a thing in the back of your mind. And, people are going to say, why are you bringing that up? Because everybody's bringing it up, because it's a fact of the matter of NIL these days. That's why. And hopefully things work out and he stays here. But, man, we've this young man, and, when Ned comes on, I talked to Ned a little bit today, is a tremendous playmaker, and he's entertaining to watch. The jump pass. JJ Buck brought that up today in the press conference, or when we were talking at the table, and the jump passes are amazing. This kid makes plays that sometimes, you're like, wow, gosh, the quarterback draw around right in. And, Nick Trujillo held his block. He didn't crack back or anything. People were like, why isn't he throwing a block? He didn't want to get a penalty. Did a great job there. So, again, Dampier is just amazing.
Everybody will be very happy with Ned James. And I can't believe during that opening, I bashed on the the defense. And it's not, and I repeatedly say it's not because Ben Wysong, who did play the game and played under Rocky, Luke Wysong, I think he was on PFF's national team of the week. I've said it. I think I'm not a scout. I think Luke Wysong has played his way into the NFL. If he has a season like this and another one next year, I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, I'm sure he could get some NIL offers. He's from here. I'm not going to ask Ben. I'm not going to ask Ben about that. That's down the road. Let them finish the season, but I don't think Luke's going anywhere. We will be right back with former UNM quarterback and Lobo Radio Network sideline reporter, and love how outspoken Ned James is, and we know everybody on here loves him. So Ned James will be joining us right after the commercial break. This is the Pit Press Live. Ed Nunez, Ryan Tamori.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. Ed Nunez, Ryan Tamori, Ben Wysong will be joining us probably after Mr. Ned James, but we go to the we don't have a sponsor for the nickname, so it's the TD's hotline today. Mr. Ned James, former UNM quarterback and sideline reporter with one JJ Buck on the Lobo Radio Network. Mr. Ned James, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. How you guys doing?
We are hanging in there. I will start here with all the I guess negative that has come out of UNM football. To come back like that and show perseverance. What were your thoughts on Saturday with the come behind win to beat Utah State on the road?
I thought it was great. I mean, Devin Dampier in the offense, 3 straight games with 50 points. I guess a 100-year record that they had that no one else has done. And so it was really exciting to see. I mean, you kind of got down in the game being down 17-0, but the way they came back to, just to outscore, Utah State 27-7 the last 25 minutes of the game was really remarkable offensively and defensively in some regard, even though they gave up a lot of points again. It took a fourth stand to solidify the game. There was some controversy between JJ and I on whether they should have gone for it on fourth or kicked, punted, up like that. I'm old school conservative. I thought they should have punted the ball. JJ said they should have gone for it, and he was right. They went for it, but we benefited from it by stopping and then going in. They let us score and solidified the win with the interception at the end.
Ed, I'll throw it your way.
They had to overcome a lot. They were down 17-0, and Devin Dampier's first pick was not a good one, I didn't think, and they really they seemed back on their heels until that muff punt got them back in the game. The defense has been much maligned, and they gave up a lot of yards. But talk about that play at the end. Dimitri Johnson, I think, read Petrus went to the well too many times on one of those crossing routes, and they're still missing Gabe Lopez. But they made the play, to win the game and seal the victory. Talk a little bit about the defense there at the end.
Yeah, they dropped everybody. They only rushed 3 guys, and Dimitri is one of their better players. I knew that from last season. They've been rotating Jaden Wilson in there with Randolph Kapai, and that was one of the questions at the press conference today. which group of guys because Jaden didn't play as much. They played a lot of nickel too. That's why Derek Moore played. And so it was interesting to see how Dimitri was able to just read his eyes. He just came back. They were dropping and trying to keep everything underneath him, but he just read the quarterback's eyes, and he knew that they only had a few guys out they were trying to protect, and he was able to see the slant coming and jump in front of it. The official kind of blocked, I think, the quarterback's view a little bit, but it was a great play. It was the game-winning, to solidify the win, and even though they gave up 45 points, and they're really banged up. Tyler Keeney back, he had a really important knockdown in the game on one of their drives that kept them out of the end zone. So there were some moments with the defense. There's still a lot to be desired because they're giving up a bunch of points. Antonio Harris Jr., he's hanging in there. I mean, you're seeing guys because they've got to use a lot of these guys. Cam Watts, some of those guys are playing on special teams. So it's and he really plays the best players the entire game. So they're not rotating a whole lot. But solidifying the game with Dimitri at the end was really important. I think that really kind of told them that, hey, we can hang in these games to the end. If we could just stay close to the end, we have a chance of winning. These games coming up in the future. That's the main thing is you're in your conference games now, so you want to try to stay in games close to the end and then just try to finish people off at the end.
Ned, we sat at the table today at the press conference, and you played quarterback here for UNM. You were a darn good one, and we were talking about Dampier, Donovan Portery, one of the best quarterbacks. Stoney Case, Rocky Long was a good option quarterback. Don Woods, the option quarterback here in '73, and rookie of the year with San Diego Chargers in 1974. But you mentioned what a great playmaker he is. The jump pass. The things that he does offensively. You mentioned how he stays out of sacks because he's so elusive and still makes plays. I mean, it's a broken play sometimes, but he'll make a play. That catch by Ryan Davis, how big was that? Tell us, Ned, from you as a quarterback, how good is this young man? How good has he played this season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's tremendously. He's leading the conference in total offense, which is just remarkable for what they ask him to do, playing his first year essentially as a starting quarterback in college football. Now, he's a really bright young man. He came in here, he didn't even go his second semester of his senior year in high school. He came here and played spring ball. And what we were talking about at the table was, Brian Vincent, who, we kind of had access to practice, a lot more access to practices last year. And so he told me when his first spring, the kid's first spring, he said, "Hey, Ned, this guy's special." And he brought his senior quarterback with him from Alabama, Birmingham. And he said, "Ned, this kid is going to be special. This quarterback, he's really got, a lot to him. And he's really a good passer." That's what I watched and saw. He was passer. He's just a little bitty guy, but he can really throw the ball. That's the thing that I'm impressed with. But like you said, they don't full field read like those big stiff quarterbacks in the pocket, like the guy from Detroit, Jared Goff. This guy was more like a Jared Goff quarterback from Utah State. He was a pocket guy, and so he would full field read. I mean, he would read from left to right or from right to left. And if the guy wasn't open on the left side, he'd come back and he'd check it down. All those. Well, our quarterback, Devin Dampier, he doesn't necessarily do that. They give him probably one side of the field to read, and they may give him, like, in some cases they'll say, "Hey, if we're empty, go to the right side," or if we're slot left, look to the left. And he really has 1-2, and then it's hey, make something happen. And I think they've gotten used to that because he's bailed that offensive line out. I mean, that third quarter series of plays where they come in untouched. And he just avoids the rush, and then he just dances around back there, and it looks like a flag football game because looks like he's just dancing around and playing with the guys, and then he'll run. He may get a yard or two, and then just step out of bounds, avoiding the big hits. And then the one blitz they came in, the guy's got a clean shot on him on the backside, and he just ducks underneath the guy. The guy grabs him, can't hold on to him. He spins out of it and throws the ball deep downfield, and it's a great throw and catch. They have to bring it back because it was penalties on both teams. But it's just those kind of sequences. And then the next play, he ran the quarterback draw for 35 yards and a touchdown. And it was like 3 plays in a row where he had to use his legs to help the team, and was able to get a touchdown in the long run. It's that, kind of talent and exceptional ability and mobility at quarterback that puts him up there with some of the greats that have played quarterback here. I think one of the things that's intriguing and people should really kind of pay attention to is when he was in the spring game. This, we talked a little bit about that at the table too. Was they made him take every single snap at the spring game, and that was kind of telling to me because I'm thinking, now wait a minute, you got a second string quarterback. Aren't they going to be mad? Aren't they going to be upset that they're not playing? Now they might have played in practice, but they ran that kid every single play, and I thought, man, if he gets hurt or something, I know he's got the gray shirt on and not supposed to hit the quarterbacks or whatever. But boy, it just seemed, I thought, looking back now, that was a really good move because it really got him experience and really got him to know that, he's not going to stand on the sideline. We're going to need you out there every play. And he's definitely stepped up to the challenge these first 7 games. I mean, I know they're 3-4 and they're going into, a good part of their schedule now. This Colorado State team is going to be interesting for him, but he really is stacking up against all the other great quarterbacks. That's still left to be determined. Some of those guys played 2-3 seasons. He's having a phenomenal season this season. We hope the NIL people aren't listening at other schools because, the price just went up on him. It's going up every week, especially with these sports commentators that are calling the games. They're just, they can't understand or believe why he's even at New Mexico. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares. We still got 5 more games left in the season, and he's going to be playing, his level of competition as far as, conference opponents, and we'll see how he matches up moving forward. Compared to those guys, I would give him a little bit more time. I mean, as far as how he looks, yeah, he looks like he could be every bit as good as all those former quarterbacks. But at the same time, he's still, in his first season.
I think you're right about the body of work, right? The body of work. Stoney Cates put in the body of work. Rocky Long, Don Woods was only here 1 year. Donovan Porterie for 2 or 3. So you're right. He's got a ways to go. But what we've seen, and Jeff Symbieta said it on the 610 this morning, we haven't seen a quarterback make plays with his arm and legs like that around here in a long time. Now, Lamar Jordan, a good option quarterback with a triple option, but they bring in Austin and Apodaca as the throwing quarterback back then. So Ned,
if you want to go back, if you want to go back 100 years, you can go back to when I played. I mean, I threw it, and as a matter of fact, I saw Devin down in the training room before the press conference, and I had to remind him. I said, you haven't put a guy on the side of the stadium yet, like I did. Terrace is on the side of the stadium, and I put him in the NFL for 12 years, and you still haven't had a 400, 100 game yet. So, son, just keep working hard, man. You'll get there eventually. But no, just kidding. I just told him how great he played, and that there's he's just doing some tremendous thing. He really was. The thing I like about the young man is that he's really curious about what kind of offense did you run in. And I told him we were underneath the center, and he didn't, because he's never played under center. These kids all play in shotgun, and they run that RPO stuff in high school and in college. And I said, we did everything. He was shocked that I had never played in shotgun before. And he said, because he probably thought I played in leather helmets too, but he was kind of infatuated with the fact that I never played out of shotgun and was still able to run the ball and throw the ball. And I mean, we discussed a little bit at the table about how play action works a little bit different from underneath the center as opposed to being in shotgun, like the Navy is doing right now. Navy, the guy looks really good doing both. So we'll see how he does moving forward. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. Brian, I think Ned answered just about every question I had. I'll send it back to you.
Ned, no, we appreciate you joining the show. As always, I've missed you. The defense hasn't played well, but when you get a 4th down stop to get the ball back, go ahead and score, and then get a game-winning interception, that at least has to give you a sense of confidence on that side of the ball, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it gave him a lot of confidence, and knowing that they got a lot of guys out, and they're just scratching and fighting with every little thing they have left. And I brought up one point to JJ and Robert, and they really, because they don't look at the game the same way I do, because I just ramble and talk football. And people who aren't in coaching, you kind of think, oh, okay, well, whatever. But there's things that I remember. There's little points in the season that I remember and I recall, especially because I know some of the kids. And Bryce Taylor is one of my favorite kids. He came in. Terrence is the one who really kind of recruited him for Danny, and he's out of Atlanta, Georgia. And so I've talked to him quite a bit. And he's the starting right corner, which is tough because you're playing against a lot of the best players. He'll usually line up when they're a better player, better receiver most of the time. And this is only his second year playing. But the young man got cramps in the Montana State game, and he came out of the Montana State game for a play or two. And I recalled this because I was looking at who was chasing that running back, third string running back from Montana State that ripped off that 97-yard run. And the kid kind of gave up. I thought the kid kind of gave up a little bit on the play. And Montana State was able to win by 3 points or something like that at the end. And then fast forward to this time, well, he's in the game at the end. And what people don't realize is on that 4th and 1 play, everybody's talking about the defensive line, what a great stop. But if you watch the film, which I get a chance to watch, and I watched the full 22 and then the end zone copy, and then what you can see is that Bryce Taylor comes inside the tight end and he grabs the tackle. Well, while he's grabbing the tackle, he reaches around and grabs the quarterback and pulls him down to the side. And if you notice, they don't blow the whistle, and that's what Portnoy and all those guys were talking about. They were upset because, the kid was kind of stuck in pause with the quarterback sneak, the big quarterback for Utah State, and they were lined up and trying to get behind him and push him past the first down marker. And it didn't budge really, and then you see Bryce Taylor slip in underneath the tight end who's blocking out on the defensive end. He slips underneath the guy from his corner position. He comes from depth. He actually comes from about 3 or 4 yards deep. He slips underneath him. He grabs the tackle as everybody's, kind of at a stalemate, like a tug of war. He slips underneath it. He grabs the tackle, and he's grabbing the quarterback, and he falls backwards, but he's falling backwards sideways, and he pulls him down sideways, and it makes him short of the first down. It's a really great play. I mean, that's how you teach short yardage and goal line. And it was really a good play by him. So, and my point was that, here's the guy. That's why you got to have your best players in the game all the time. And, coaches know that. And just from a guy being out one play, you get a 97-yard run ripped off on you, like in Montana State, and having that same guy in the game late, he makes a great play like this on 4th and 1. You can say what you want. They get that first down. The game's over. They got the game. They just needed that one first down. And so it was really important that he makes that play, or else they don't get a chance to have them walk in for the touchdown because there's not enough time on the clock. It was just a great play all around, and I just thought I'm thinking this is the kind of thing that can propel a defense. They're going to get Gabe Lopez back, I think, this game, so that'll help them defensively and with energy. I mean, these concussion things, these coaches are just losing their minds now because they have no say in it anymore. With the new concussion protocols. And so, a guy like Gabe could want to come back, but, if he's got headaches and whatever, those doctors aren't going to release him. So, but unfortunately, he's been cleared, and so he's going to play this week. That'll help us because the boys from Colorado State, they've got a big offensive line. They're pretty big defensive line and offensive line. So it'll be a challenge for us this week.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder there. What do you know about Colorado State? They kind of they were up 21-0 on Air Force, a very bad Air Force team. It pains me to say that. But Air Force kind of rallied and they lost 21-13, and Air Force had the ball late. But what do you know about Colorado State? You just mentioned their offensive line. Their defense, I guess, isn't very good. But what do you know about CSU?
Well, the one thing is that they lost their best player, the wide receiver,
Torrey Horton.
His name. Torrey Horton, yeah. He got hurt in the San Jose State game. He has an ACL. I mean, it was ugly. I saw it on the film, and he's going to be out. And so that helps us defensively, their best offensive player. The problem is they've got a mammoth of an offensive line. They're really big, and I think this is what happens to them late in the game because they're so big these big guys, fat guys, they get tired late in the games, and so that's why a team like Air Force can come back on a team like that. And plus, if you keep running the ball on them, they're subject to kind of not be as physical late in the game, but they're big and physical early in the game, boy. If we can get through the first half, I mean, these guys, they're rugged now. I mean, so it's going to be a battle going up there to play them up in Fort Collins. I really, because everybody was I got everybody depressed at the press conference because I explained to them that these guys are big. They were like, shoot, they're big again, Ned. I'm like, well, they're bigger than us, so it's gonna be a challenge. And then they've got two guys on that defensive line that are pretty good on defense. So they only got one corner I think is pretty good. His name is Dom James. He's Dom Jones. I'm sorry. He's not bad. He's the left corner. He's pretty good. The other guys are just okay. The linebackers are their top tacklers. Baum Jock and Chase Wilson. They're two pretty good linebackers. So I'm a little worried about them if they get going, shutting down the run game. But we've been pretty successful offensively in running the ball, and they're going to play a standard nickel defense. They're not. I thought Utah State did a good job in the first half against us because they weren't as exotic. They were doing all these exotic, crazy blitzes because the interim head coach was a defensive coordinator before, but they didn't do that at the beginning of the game. They just played base, and that's what kind of threw us off, and it forced Devin Dampier to throw into coverage. You got a couple interceptions early in that game, but Colorado State's going to play you straight up. They're going to play you straight up, and they're going to make you march the field, and they're going to see if your guys can block their guys and just let it eat from there. And so it's going to be important that we kind of sustain some drives to give our defense a little bit of a break because they're going to really lean on them and try to run the ball. They do a little RPO too. Their quarterback is not bad. He's a sophomore. He's not a bad player. And there were a lot of people trying to cherry pick him too this last offseason to leave Colorado State. He's not playing that great this year, but he's not bad. He's a pretty good, decent runner, in my opinion. The passing game stuff looks a little. It's just not as tight. It's not as something that I think that they really kind of try to major in, and you can tell they don't work on it a whole lot. But they've got some decent players as far as the backup receivers that'll come in and try to replace Horton being out. But I still think, losing Horton really hurts them because he was really he was the guy they tried to get the ball to all the time. And the running back is they're gonna turn and hand it to the running back who's not bad. He's not as good as the guys from Utah State. And this is what's kind of weird because I really thought the Utah State running backs would really eat us up. I mean, they still got put 45 points on us, but I thought they would run a lot better because I thought those two guys were much better than this guy at Colorado State. But we'll see. We kind of shut that guy down, but let's see if we can shut down a running back. With an offensive line. I didn't think Utah State's offensive line was as good as this Colorado State offensive line. So that's about it as far as that. The kicker and the kicking game. We should be okay there. Wysong's playing well as a punt returner. Their kicker, Jordan knows he's okay, and their punter's okay. So we'll see. They've got a good punt returner. And their kickoff returner guy is not bad either. But special teams to me is always important. I like to see teams that have really good kickers. These games are going to get tight. These field goals are important, and this is going to be a tight, tough game going up there. Fort Collins is never easy, and I don't think we've won in like 2 decades up there. So it's going to be a really big challenge for this UNM team, and we've got a little momentum, and so I think the kids are excited. I think they really believe they can, if they can get this one, they could get to a bowl game. So I think they're going to fight through a lot of not injuries, but just little owies and hurts. Because when you're losing, it's easy to not play. It's easy to say, hey, you hurt too much, you can't do it. But winning, cures all. So we'll see how these guys manage playing with with just kind of being down because a lot of guys have been injured, and Tyler Keeney, I'm kind of surprised he came back because he's usually one of them guys that doesn't really come back from a lot of things. So they were able to get him back out there, and he made a big play. But let's see if they can kind of keep this momentum and get some guys back healthy and try to make a push in these last 5 games to get to a bowl game.
Ed, do you have anything else?
One quick question, Ned. Nobody's really mentioned this. Any status that you know of now? Coach Mendenhall's plays things very close to the vest about injuries, but have you heard anything about safety Tavion Combs at all?
Yeah, I think Tavion had a couple injuries during camp. He was coming off an ACL from last year, and I think he had an ankle this year, and it just really hasn't healed the way they thought it was. I mean, I think he's working really hard. I think they're hoping to get him back at some point, but I don't know if he's going to make it back this year. I think they want to kind of see what they got with these guys this year, try to maybe get Derek Moore some more reps back there. But, I know a lot of people remember him and how good a player he was. And then the fact that he hasn't played since the ACL injury, a lot of people have forgotten it, but it's good you remember. But I see him in the training room. I see him, he's really optimistic, and they say he's really rehabbing really hard. But I don't know if Bronco and those guys really want him to play this year. So it all depends on, what kind of feel they get for the rest of the season, if they're going to need him down the stretch.
We're joined by former UNM quarterback and member of the Lobo Radio Network, Mr. Ned James. Before I let you go, your boy Baker's playing tonight. How do they beat the Ravens?
How do they beat the Ravens? Baker, don't turn the ball over, play good defense, kick some field goals, and you can beat the Ravens. So, and the Ravens are probably planning that as well, because that's how, they run the ball really well. And, they're going to play good defense, and, their head coach is a special teams guy. So they're always pretty solid there. I think their kicker is overpaid. He's probably one of the best in the league. So I think Baker can get it done. I like Baker's toughness. He's smart. He works hard. So hopefully, he can get this win. Everybody thinks the big bad Ravens are getting ready to come, storming back and get to the AFC Championship game again. But it's still early in the season, so guys are just getting their land legs. So we'll see what happens tonight.
He is a former quarterback for the University of New Mexico, and you can catch him pre-halftime, post-game with JJ Buck on the Lobo Radio Network, which is 96.3, 770 KKOB with JJ Buck. Mr. Ned James, we're going to try to make this a thing through the rest of the football season. Love talking to you. Thank you for spending a half an hour with us today.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thanks, Ned.
That was Ned James of the Lobo Radio Network. I love talking to him. I love that he calls linemen fat and fatties. That's the best part of it. He's the absolute best. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more Lobo football, and with another Lobo football player who has been joining us since the start of the season. We've missed him the last about week and a half, but we have been busy, and he's been traveling. And I'm not a fan of his work schedule, Mr. Ben Wysong. And I'll start with, we'll not start with the Lobo question. I'll ask him about College Game Day. I'm Ryan Tamori. Gosh, Ed, I'm sorry. Between Ned and Ed, I can't spit it out right, and I'm sorry. Ed Nunez, the Pit Press Live, will be right back.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. Before we get to our next guest, and I didn't mean to make you wait, sorry for the long commercial break there. Nature calls, and then I had to call my mom. And mom comes first, especially in this household. Ed, what'd you think of Ned? I love Ned.
You know what?
What'd you take away from that?
Every time I talk to him, you remember he coached at the professional level, played collegiately. He reminds me that he knows a lot more than anyone I know as far as formations, tight ends, tackles, backs, defensively. As a wide receiver coach, he had the game plan for the Tennessee Titans, and he played quarterback here. He's just a really smart guy that I'm glad he's a good friend. He has me laughing about a lot of different things. Ned, I'm going to tell you one thing, man, about Ned, and you know this. Ned is going to speak his mind. If that's the way it is. You know what? He's going to say things that maybe some people, not on our show so much, but Ned is an opinionated guy, and I have a lot of respect for him as far as his football knowledge. He tells us, think about what he says on our show. We're lucky to have him. I thought what he said about Dampier, and the way they scheme and block and the plays that he's run and the quarterbacks of the past. He said Dampier's good, but the body of work's not quite there yet to be the best, but certainly on his way to that. So it's always great to have him on.
Before we get to Ben Wysong, former linebacker, Lobo back, I had to turn on my fan because it's still a little warm in October.
Yeah.
I think about what his character's name is, Lou Brown, and I forget if it's Major League or Major League 2, but he goes, "All right, guys, we've won one game. We win today. It's called a winning streak." So UNM is on a winning streak. It's something we don't talk about with football around these parts. So it's kind of a basketball thing. But now let's go back to the TD's hotline. Ben Wysong joining us. Let me get you on there. There. Oh, I kicked myself off. Where did we go? Well, you know what? I'll just get rid of that. Mr. Ben Wysong. Ben, how you doing?
Not too bad, guys. Yeah, just it's a pretty rowdy weekend, and so it was good to see those guys pull out a win on a good game like that. So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of football for us.
I was going to ask you about Ohio State at Oregon, but that's old news. And
that was
probably
a
weren't,
game, man.
Yeah, and you probably weren't satisfied with walking out. And you were at College Game Day. I'll ask that about you later.
Okay.
I know it's blood, and you've become you're a friend of the show. You're a part of this as much as everybody else is on this. But you have a nephew who we've just mentioned that is playing phenomenal on this team, and I'm trying to shuffle through these notes like an idiot. He had another fantastic game. Where is it? Fantastic job of hosting it. I say fantastic a lot. I've realized that. You know what? I just dropped my notes. Luke had a great game. What did you take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, we just got another glimpse of like what Luke is capable of doing, especially when that offense with Coach Beck. I mean, and not even just Luke. I mean, I feel like that whole offense in general, I mean, definitely the last three quarters had a great game. I mean, yeah, Luke had, 150 yards or whatever, but I mean, I look back and I think about that play, the pass to Ryan Davis towards the end there. If he doesn't come up with that ball, I don't think we win that game, because I want to say that was either a third or fourth down play. So, that's been the cool thing with this offense in general is just seeing everybody contribute. It's not just maybe one or two guys, when you got a guy like Devin who can do, pretty much anything at this point, it's actually very refreshing to see UNM finally have an offense who can pretty much almost move the ball at will. So it was a good time to just watch those guys do their thing.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, and I'm sorry. I'm a man. I can't do two things at once. I'm trying to produce and talk at the same time. Luke Wysong led the team for a 6th straight game in receptions with a career high, tying 10 for a career high 156 yards. I mean, every week I'm just I don't want to say, and again, I know your family, so I'm just being objective media guy. I keep forgetting this. But I don't think take this the wrong way. Devin might be more talented, and I'm not knocking Luke because talented.
No, not at all.
No, I mean, Luke could. I would, by the time I started, Luke would be 50 yards down the field by the time my fat ass these days. Because he is a phenomenal talent. Devin, and you could argue this probably is maybe the most talented guy on the team.
Sure.
But I don't think, and now I'm knocking Devin Dampier, so I hope none of his family members knocking. I don't think there's as important of a player as Luke on this team. I don't know if you would agree or disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on how you kind of look at it. Me personally, I think this team goes as Devin goes. God forbid this ever happens, but like if anything were to happen to Devin, I don't know what this team would look like after that, honestly. But yeah, when you've got, a sidekick like Luke who can, get you the play, the yards or whatever that you need most. I mean, he's your guy. So it's so fun watching those duo just kind of work together. And I know they've been putting in a lot of work, especially in the off season. They have such a good chemistry going on right now. And, the big thing I noticed with those guys is that they have a lot of trust in each other, and not even maybe just Devin and Luke, but just the whole team in general. I mean, you throw anybody in that group, on offense, and there's no slowdown. Like you don't see a whole lot of drop off. Say for example, like if Luke comes out for a play or two, I mean, you still got Ryan, you got RD doing his thing. You got Sean Miller coming in, who's able to pick up the pace a little bit. Caleb, when he's healthy, I mean, Caleb has a whole nother factor. And, then you got Nick, I mean, you're looking at Nick if you're trying to go for a backside fade, or a back shoulder fade. So it's, it's cool to see that you have that many options. And we haven't even talked about the running backs. I mean, you got a whole group back there that, they can, we looked at with Nakari, when one man goes down, it's next man up, and you just, you produce. So, and, it's really refreshing to see it. We haven't had this. I mean, I'll be honest, I can't remember the last time we had a team like this since I was playing, where we had, this many amount of players on offense that could just step up and you're not really missing a beat.
I want to ask you something, Ben. Montana State. Luke dropped a key pass. He did, but since then, locked in, glued in. And every athlete goes through it, man. And you went through it. I played basketball, and there's times that, hey, man, I nobody was harder on me than I was, and probably you were hard on yourself, and Luke was hard on himself after that game too. But since then, man, the catches against Arizona, Auburn, the catches over the middle, one was jumping over somebody to make a third down catch.
Right.
He's been locked in, man. He's been locked in, and you mentioned someone that. He runs what, a 10-3, 100. So the speed, he's shifty, makes the moves, a dangerous punt returner. He's Dampier's go-to guy. But you mentioned the wide receiver room is deep, man. And Freddie Trujillo mentioned this. Nick only got maybe one target on Saturday, but Brian Davis, what kind of catch was that, man? You're holding your breath. You're like, man, oh my goodness, wow. But just talk a little bit about how Luke has been dialed in since that game against Montana State. Since then, he's been their best wide receiver. They've got some good receivers, there's no doubt. But just talk a little bit about how he locked in after that game.
Well, the cool thing that I love about Luke is that, I mean, and this has ever been since high school, and Luke takes a whole lot of pride of just trying to be the best version of himself and being the best athlete that he can be. I mean, he recognizes that, hey, I mean, he's got these God-given abilities that, he can, he can play football. So it's the way that he looks at it, it's his job to like, hey, you know what? I have these abilities. I'm going to utilize them the best that I can. I think it's just that simple foundation. And I mean, you said it perfectly, Ed. I mean, yeah, he had that drop on Montana State. That's how we all grow as athletes. It's going to be a mistake. He could have either gone one of two ways. He could have sulked about it, could have gone down about it and just let it affect his playing, or, you pick yourself up, you learn from it, and you move on. And that's exactly what he did. You know, I remember talking to him after that game. He said, I'm not going to let that happen again. And he took it personally. And, you know, then you saw what happened, you know, with basically his coming out party against Arizona, you know, where he just went off on, you know, arguably a first round draft pick of a corner. So, yeah, Luke, I've never met a kid who just dials in and just puts in the work like he does. I mean, and the cool thing about Luke is that you don't even have to tell him to do any of that stuff. That's just who he is. So, and, you know, he tries to instill that with his teammates at UNM. I mean, he's taken a big, you know, step of trying to be a leader for that team. I mean, he's been around now. This is year 4 already. So, you know, he's, you know, one of those leaders of the team, and he's just trying to lead by example and just instill that culture.
You know, Ben, they haven't won 3 in a row since 2016, man. You know, it's been a while. And, you know, I think Sean Ryder called that right. It was a wild win. Wild. Had my son and I biting our nails. We weren't sure what was going to happen. Johnson, a great play at the end to you know, secure the win. Victory formation on the road, man. We haven't seen it in a while. And,
right.
But they've got work to do still. Coach Mendenhall mentioned that today. But talk a little bit about that too. You know, I always mention the Mendenhall effect, and I think some of that is coming to play right now. They've got again, Ned James mentioned physically across the games are won at the line of scrimmage. We know that.
Sure.
You know, and they're up against a bigger Colorado State front. They are. They got to find a way to win. But talk a little bit about, you know, what do you think? Did you think they'd be here in at this point of the season? I mean, they started off on 0-4, tough schedule, right?
Sure.
They started off 0-4, and you know they're probably lamenting that Montana State lost a little bit. They probably are. You know, could have gone either way. But where did you think they'd be, man?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes question myself if they'd be where they are with any other coaching staff at this point. I mean, you know, I've been fortunate to be able to meet a lot of these coaches now and a lot of the players, and you know, just to see the development and just the buy-in that these players have with this coaching staff. I mean, it's been awesome. I mean, I can't tell you how much. Like every time I talk to the boys, you know, it's, you know, they're always complimenting the coaches. I know Luke and Evan in particular, they love this staff. They have nothing but great things to say. I mean, not only just Mendenhall, but you know, they love Coach Beck. They love the receivers coach, Micah Simon. I mean, it gives me that whole family atmosphere with this team. Because I mean, you'll see like in some of these bigger programs where, I mean, gosh, you might have some of the players on the offense and they barely even talk to the defensive staff, you know, and vice versa. Where now, you know, the vibe that I get with this team is that, you know, everyone, they hang out with each other when they're not on the field. You know, it's just a close, tight-knit group. And, you know, that all comes from Coach Mendenhall. It's, you know, and even like thinking about it, because I was listening to Jeff and Sean earlier on their podcast, it's, you know, how Mendenhall doesn't really get he's not the most media friendly guy in terms of like giving information, but I mean, I think he's just so dialed in with this team and just making sure that, you know, they're priority number one, you know, and he's focused on getting these guys developed both on and off the field, preparing these guys, you know, and the wins kind of take care of itself from the standpoint of like, hey, getting more fans in the stadium, you know, getting more buy-in with this team. So he understands it. And I think the players understand it too.
Just a real quick comment. I'll send it back to Ryan. I don't, you know, I've covered a lot of high school sports. You know, I'm the voice at Western. I've talked to a lot of coaches, whole bunch. You know, he's probably the most different guy that I've seen as far as dealing with the media. But I think you're right. His team is his responsibility. Everything outside of that is a distraction. Yeah. Now, that's not to say he's not going to do the media. He will. He knows he has to.
Sure.
But you know what? He'd prefer probably, hey, I got work to do, man. I need to dial in. And when he's there, he dials in, because we've heard it from Curtis Flakes. We heard it from Landrick Brody back then when he coached. Guys wanted to be on the kickoff return team, starters. Yeah. You know, to do that for him. And, you know, that's kamikaze work there. You know that.
So
that tells you something about him. It does.
That's asking to get blown up.
Oh, yeah, man. This is before they made the kickoff change rules. Way before, right? Way before, right? So that tells you something about it. The fire and brimstone comes from somewhere for sure. If guys are wanting to run through the wall for him, there's something that he's got about him. But when it's a media time, man, and you know, the other thing is, don't ask him about any injuries. Don't ask. He's not going to tell you. That's it. He's not going to tell you. Now, if you want to know, just read the Journal, and Sean Ryder will say so-and-so's in the turquoise jersey. Then okay.
Yeah.
Because if Deshaun Ryder asked today about 2 injured players, and the response was, yeah, we're still assessing their injuries. That's it. That's the way he's going to be. He's not the most media guy. He's not. But he's a football coach, man. That's what he does. He's a football coach, and he's doing it right now pretty well. And I think New Mexico's, climbing, trending up, and that's where we wanted them to be.
Sure.
They win this weekend, and we can't. Hey, I think we got a very good chance, but it's going to be a tough. Colorado. They haven't beat Colorado State in a long time. Colorado State's won 3 or 4, 2 or 3. It's their homecoming. It's going to be a big crowd. New Mexico's got everything against them, man. They did on the road this week. Let's see what they can do, because there's another challenge in front of you, right? Here's another one.
Yep.
And so let's see what they can do. But I had to just make a comment there about Coach Mendenhall. I've never seen nothing like him, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't. Everyone's different, man. Not everyone's going to be all lovey-dovey and, hey, great, give you like Deion Sanders, right? They're not going to be like that. Some people are going to be like Bill Belichick. Nope. We're just getting ready for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
He's totally Bill.
Honestly,
He's definitely Belichick. I mean, and I love it. I mean, because I think just like from hearing from the boys, just some of the feedback from them, it's, his priority number one is that team. I think he's just worried about what happens inside that, inside the South Complex. That's his priority number one. We're going to, hey, it's, that's all that really matters at this point. Everything else is outside noise. But, like someone just like Rudy, the Mendenhall effect, it's real. It's a thing, man. And it's cool to see because, and I think you said it perfectly too, like I think every single player on that team would run through the wall for that guy. And that's awesome. And when you have a team like that, that's a,
you're right.
That's
all that matters. Inside you've been in the circle, man. I've been in the circle. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
In here.
When you have a team that's willing and able to run through the wall for your coaches like that, and they're having fun doing it, that's just a recipe for disaster for any opponent that they have on that schedule, in my opinion.
Danny was so different because he'd stay around after the press conferences. Hey, Ed, how's it going? And as soon as Coach Mendenhall's done, see ya.
What I like about it is because it feels like it almost leaves you like wanting more in a sense. Like you're like, you start swimming in your head, like, okay, what's the game plan now this week, or what are they going to be doing? And like the injury thing, like who am I going to see on Saturday? I actually have enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, that's just a little comment there. Not a knock. Everyone's different, and he's doing a great job, so we can't complain. Sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to go on a tangent, man.
No. That's what the show is for. What do you know about Colorado State? Torrey Horton got hurt.
I know.
Did you watch any of, not like there were other games on, but I had money on for it. So, it was on it was on this TV. And I have a zillion monitors in here, but I don't know if you caught any of that game. It was very odd. It was 21-0. And all of a sudden they went for 2 late, but it was 21-13. And CSU walked out of there. I don't know if I can get a good read on that game. I thought they were going to give I'm sure they're a different team now, obviously with Torrey Horton out. I thought that they would have given Colorado a hard time. I think Colorado's a much better team than people probably would have thought. And then they opened up at Texas. It is what it is. But what do you know about Colorado State? And I didn't realize they hadn't beaten them since 2009, which was Mike Loxley's first year. I don't know. What do you know?
Last time we beat them in Colorado Springs and Fort Collins was my senior year when Kenny Bird had to kick the field goal to win the game for us at the last second. So that's the last time we went up there, and that was 2006.
Kenny Bird, a good St. Pius guy. I know.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love your Pius guys. Yep.
We're like parasites. I I don't understand it. We're like
good old Kenny.
Like cockroaches.
No, Kenny's a good dude. I really he was such a good teammate.
No, I love him. He dated my friend Damon and Mike's cousin, so that's
okay.
That's the shtick on that. But the question, what do you know about Colorado State, and is it a winnable game? I mean, are we talking about 4? I think 4 in a row probably changed the complex of the season.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think and I'm going to steal this word from Coach Mendenhall because he does all the time. But I think this is a very capable opportunity for UNM to actually pull out another win. I think it's going to be definitely a hard fought game, especially in the trenches. Ned, he nailed it. I think between I know they got both a good offensive and defensive line. They've got some size to them. it sucks that I guess it's good for us, but I was really bummed to see Torrey get hurt. I was actually a fan. I'm actually a fan of that guy. I mean, we'll be seeing him on Sundays. I'm one of those guys. I like to, play the team at their best. But I mean, hey, it's such as football. So, yeah, their line play is good. I know BFN, their quarterback, I know he can move the ball for these guys. So, but I don't think it's like as daunting of a task that UNM hasn't already seen compared to like when they played Auburn or when they played Arizona. So I think I think they definitely have a chance. I was a little surprised that the line's gone up to 7. So, but hey, in reality, does any of that stuff really matter? So, but I think it's going to be a tough game for them for sure.
I hadn't seen the line.
Last I saw was 7. I think it started at 5.
It's where I go. It's 6.5.
6.5. Okay.
I'll have to check Action Network. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I don't think it's. I thought maybe it might be a little bit of a daunting task. When they were down, yeah, when they were down 17-0 to Utah State, I kind of thought, now here we go again.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they're more well coached than I thought, and that's what was going to be my next question was. To get the defense has not played well. It's not a secret, and I know we're harping on it. But there's still a lot of positivity around this team. I think more so than I had thought. But they got you're a defensive guy. They get a key 4th down stop. Then they get an interception to seal the game. That has to be motivating on that side of the ball, right, Ben? You're a linebacker.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering how, effective they've been with injuries. The Air Force game, they only played 2 linebackers the whole game. That's unheard of this day and age. When you're unable to rotate out and, especially with this game where you're able to get, 2 4th down stops and get a turnover to win the game. How does that not build your confidence? Yes, are they giving up points? Sure. But it's got to definitely help, build the confidence of this team, especially going into, a game like this with Colorado State where, you're going to be playing, in a pretty good crowd, if it's going to be homecoming. So, the thing that I love about this defense, and I know I've said it before, but these guys play hard though every single play. They're 100%. They're flying to the ball, and it's that, and that part is refreshing. I think as far as time goes and more game time with these guys, that these guys get, I think it's going to start coming together more for them. And and Ned called it earlier too. They're definitely going to have to get pressure on this guy this coming game. Was it Fowler Nicolosi? Is that his last name?
I always butcher it. Brader Fowler Nicolosi because I was looking at it the other night.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to apply a little bit of pressure just to give some, take some pressure off of the DBs being in coverage. But then again, how much does the game plan change with Colorado State now that they don't have Horton anymore? So, I caught the very tail end of the game last week when they played Air Force. And the one thing I didn't notice with Air Force, they had I think their original starter playing this time around instead of the one that we saw. So I don't know how much that changes Air Force's game plan. I can't imagine much. They run the same thing. That's just a tough, offense to plan for, to begin with. I don't care who you are, unless you're Army or Navy. But I was a little surprised that game was as close as it was. I know it was 21-0, but hey, that football games are 60 minutes for a reason. So, Air Force had their chances. And even like I was telling my wife when we were watching at the end there, it's like, Air Force is, one really good throwing quarterback away from possibly throwing that Hail Mary to, tie the game or even win it. So, it's all a game of mystery.
I'm not harping on I hate harping on anybody that goes to any of the military academies. Like Air Force was just picked last in the men's basketball preseason poll. I didn't see what the women were. I met 2 years ago, the best name ever, who was the center, and I'm sure he was an NFL talent, which was Thor Paglialong. Yeah, what a name!
What
I love
it.
But that quarterback, man, look, again, I sit my fat ass on my couch, my recliner here, and I've got a billion TVs, and I love the history of things more so in sports, but damn, his passing, I was like, man, just please don't throw the ball down the field.
I know.
And he made some bad throws down the field, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna shut up now. Like, keep harping on the guy, but it was, I don't know what we had Sean O'Toole, who covers Air Force for the Mountain West Wire. He's not even a professional journalist, but the way he knows Air Force and the two military academies, even he was like, they might be better next year, but this year it's just bad. Okay, I'm rambling. Ben, I have to ask you, you were at Ohio State, at Oregon, and you sent me photos of College Game Day. You are talking to somebody who's, my mom refers to me as her second-born son, and Kurt Herbstreit is her firstborn son. That's her joke. But what was that experience like at the ass crack of dawn?
Man, that was a completely different level of, just football. I mean, just college football in general that I've ever been around. It was amazing. I mean, I know they had the fans. Those guys were lined up at the gate just to get into the game day area at 3:30 in the morning, and there were people tailgating overnight. So that was a lot of fun. And just, actually seeing, Saban, 10 feet away from me, I'm like, holy cow, like, it's actually Nick Saban. So that was actually really cool. And, that guy needs to get back into coaching. I don't know. I mean, I know it looks like he's having fun, but man, football needs him back on the sidelines somewhere.
You know what? I love him, and they were giving him shit on Saturday because Pat McAfee always picks West Virginia because he went to WVU. And he looked at him because they picked West Virginia, and then like 2 picks later they went to Alabama, Tennessee, and Saban was like, I'm taking Alabama. And Pat McAfee looked at him. He goes, you always pick Alabama. And with a stern look, because I think he loves McAfee, he just looked at McAfee, Saban, and he went, no. And he didn't say anything else. And I don't know if I thought it was great. I was just like, I don't know. I think I understand probably from a football aspect, he needs to be back on it. I know he's in his early 70s, but he's so great on that show. He's better than I could have ever. He's better than I ever could have.
Those two make that show so much. Yeah. I mean, it's so fun watching those guys now.
Yeah, I know a lot of people.
I love it.
I know a lot of people harp on Herbstreit. I've always loved him. I think he's great. I think Corso's great. I don't know what they're going to do if Corso, when that time comes. I hate saying that. I think they're all going to be devastated. I miss Chris Fowler hosting it, although I think Reese Davis does a great job. I like Fowler.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm jealous, man. I've always wanted to go to that. But for the game itself, I mean, that's probably thus far the game of the year. I did not know the 12 man on the field rule. I know you're an Ohio State guy. I'm giving you reason 400 to punch me in the face. I thought that was brilliant by Dan Lanning.
No, I'll be honest, and I'm going to tell as an Ohio State fan, I think it was genius. I mean, that's the thing about with football these days now. I mean, just to know like the intricacies of that. I mean, I got to tip my hat to you on that because, I mean, hey, when you got everything else that's going on in a big time game like that, you got 60,000 fans there just screaming their faces off, and just to have that composure and just have that game awareness. I mean, hats off to them. It was such a good game. The Oregon fans, they were amazing. The Ohio State fans, I mean, they were great as well. Man, I would say probably about a good third of that stadium was probably Ohio State fans. They travel so well. And, I mean, yeah, what more could you ask for? I mean, it's, to me, that was like the perfect college football day for me because you had a great game. I mean, yes, Ohio State didn't win, but, I mean, it was such a good game for me where it's like it didn't even matter. That was just awesome to see. And just, I mean, even after the game, there wasn't a single empty spot on that field after everyone stormed that field. It was awesome. And it was such a great time. I mean, I will remember it till the day I die because it was a lot of fun. I'm glad we did it.
I am very jealous. And I'm going to bring in the one, the only Richard. Whoop. Richard Thompson. Rick, how you doing?
Good afternoon, guys. Hope you can hear me. If you can't, say something, but I'll just keep going here. I'm pumped about the football game. I was really hurt over that Montana State loss at the beginning of the year. It hung with me a few days, but this win is hanging with me a few days. I'm still riding high after being at Mountain West Media Days last week there, Ryan, with you, getting to talk to all the coaches. So hopefully we can chat about that as well. But super
Definitely.
excited for the football team, and I've been listening, so you guys can continue with whatever you were talking about.
Ed's going to sign off. Ben, we appreciate you joining us. I'm glad you made time for us today.
No, thank you. Guys.
Always love your insight, Ned. Rick and I will close this thing out. Ed, thank you for joining us.
Rick, take care. Thanks, Ben.
Hey, can I bring up one thing, Ryan?
Go right ahead, Ben.
Because I keep seeing people post about, that punt return with Luke. So a couple things on that. Did you guys see the ball actually touch any of our players? When I watched that replay, the last thing I saw, and I only saw the replay once, so I'm not 100%. I thought the ball hit off the Utah State guy's leg on his calf. So at that point, isn't that a down ball? Because I know the ball didn't even touch Luke at all, period. Because he got bumped. I mean, he got bumped pretty hard. And I even asked Luke after the game, I was like, did you even touch it? He's like, no, dude. He's like, my ass was on the ground.
That's a good point. That's two things that wrong.
I want to go back and look at it. I recorded the game, so
but Ben, to your knowledge, that should have been a penalty, correct, on Utah State for pushing the UNM player into.
Unless the rules have changed, I know. Some last that I know is that yes, like you cannot push someone into a returner like that. But I don't know if there's any difference as far as like how they were engaged. I don't know if that's like a different thing in itself. But yeah, the biggest thing that I noticed that I took away, at least in my opinion, from that one is that to me it didn't even look like in the one replay that I saw that the ball even touched our guy, that it touched the Utah State guy's calf and it bounced off of. Which I'm kind of surprised they didn't even review it. I mean, it's neither near nor there. I mean, we won the game, but
I would have to go back and look. I didn't watch the game that intently. I was doing a million other things during it.
I'll go back and look. I still have it recorded because I had to go back and rewatch the game the next morning. I wasn't watching it live, and with 5 minutes left, I saw the score, and then I just stopped looking at the score because I was like, and I was at lunch or something. And then when I checked it again, I couldn't believe the score. So I went and rewatched the whole game, that night. So I'll go check it out, Ben, and we'll see what we can find.
Okay.
And I'll see if I can flip it, and I'll complain. I'll complain to the Mountain West and see if we can.
Well, we did have Mike DeFee on, we did have Mike DeFee on, who oversees. He officiated the 2017 national championship game between Clemson. He's with the Mountain West. He's in the Mountain West offices. He oversees the officiating for the conference, and I think Conference USA. So he's somebody that we could have on midseason. But when we have him on, I think we would have to have a select amount of plays. It doesn't have to be related to UNM, but I think if we have him on, that would be one that I would ask him about. I'm doing the New York Giants fandom because I think about Kyle Williams in that NFC title game.
Oh yeah,
he fumbled, and then the off the leg, which I still don't know to this day. But don't put your. I'm going to be the homer here. Don't put yourself in those situations. The Giants won that game. Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to talk. I mean, if we talk about it tomorrow night or Wednesday night, Ben, come back on and we'll definitely discuss it. I don't know.
I'll do some research.
Ben, we appreciate you joining us as always.
No, thank you guys for having me, man. It feels good to be back. I always enjoy talking with you guys, and gotta love college football season, man. It's the best time of the year in my book. So I know basketball is a big one here too, but I don't know. College football is just something different.
No, it is. This weekend is jam-packed.
Yeah.
Navy plays Notre Dame in the atrocity that is MetLife Stadium. Friday night is UNLV Boise State. So there, I mean, Jacob was just texting me. He's like, college football is off the charts this weekend. Hold on.
Yeah.
to do it before you get off to see what we've got. And
I'm gonna call UNLV at home.
I would think so. And then Fox has their game on Friday night, which is 9:00. Rutgers
oh my God.
at USC. Yeah, I don't think Maction has started yet. I think we're getting closer to that.
Maction? It has.
Yeah, no, man. Yeah, we got Conference USA during the week.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Nebraska. Indiana looks. I got as a Big Ten guy, I got to get your thoughts on Indiana. They're the real deal.
Yeah, those guys are rolling hot right now. I would not want to play them. I mean, to put up a 50 burger on Nebraska. That's a pretty solid win for those guys. I'd have to look and see. I'm pretty sure Ohio State plays them this year. Because I think Ohio State has Nebraska this weekend.
They do a 25.5. I did not know this. Boise on the road at Allegiant Stadium is favored by 2.5.
2.5. Okay.
I mean, if you're giving me 2.5 points at home for the dog, I'm going to take that. That's like a sharp thing too. I mean, I don't know how they figure out how to stop Genty because I don't think anybody else has done it.
Well, that's my big matchup that I want to see. Is I'm looking forward to seeing how Woodard and Genty.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. I don't know. We'll talk. If we could have you on tomorrow night, we might break down some other college football games. Ben Wysong, everybody, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you later.
All right, Rick. I want to get your thoughts on the Mountain West Conference basketball media days.
Wow. Quite an experience for all the listeners. Ryan, Jacob, and I were lucky enough to get invited to the Mountain West Conference Media Days. And on Thursday, we got the pleasure to sit down with a coach or player from every team, I believe, and spend some time with them. Got some time with Coach Patino and Donovan Dent, Nelly Jr. Joseph, and I think we're going to clip out those videos out of the stream so we can get those out to you guys. But we really just had a great time getting to know the players, understanding how much it means to all of them. And one thing that really struck me about players on all the teams, whether it be San Jose State or Nevada or even UNM, is all these young men were very respectful. They were great young men, very personable, and we're taking it very seriously. So very cool for us as a show to be there. I can't say there was another podcast there doing what we were doing and talking to all the players and teams and providing the content that we did. So it was just an unbelievable experience to be able to talk in with these guys. You know, I'm standing behind Ryan and Jacob as they're talking to Coach Alford, and I'm chopping it up with Brian Dutcher for 2 to 3 minutes, you know, while he waits for his next interview. So little moments like that, you know, walking with Tim Miles to get beef jerky, you know, just talking to all the different people, introducing myself to the commissioner, Gloria Navarez, trying to get John Rothstein to come on the show. So there was just a lot of great experiences and times of meeting people there. And I don't know, Ryan, if you want to hop into, I guess, some of your favorite moments from that day or some of your favorite interviews. I know we covered it at the end of the stream, but after you've had a few days to think about it here, just some of your favorite memories from either the women's or the men's coverage.
So I booked, I'm going to the UCLA game. I'm going to the St. John's game, and I'm staying with my aunt. And then I'm going to Boise and San Diego State as of right now. I really want to go to Nevada. I've heard mixed things about Reno. Rick, I know you're on the negative side of Reno, but I would like to go there because I've done Vegas, and you know it's the smallest big city in the world. You know, I've done those before. I've been a member of the media. You and Jake haven't done those. You're literally next to the coaches and the players. I'm used to it. I've been at press conferences where people get pissed. Mike Loxley got mad a lot. I was at the Jerry Kill thing at the New Mexico Bowl. These coaches are here to promote their program. You know, I was joking with Richard Pitino because I have him as my back. He's probably the most powerful man in Albuquerque to a most certain degree. And it's a Denver, Dallas Cowboy town, and I've got him as a New York Giants fan in the back pocket. I'm sure he'd probably rather talk about that than Lobo. I don't know. You know, I'm joking. They're car salesmen to a certain degree, and I appreciate it. Steve Alford walked right over to me and shook my hand and was like, "Great to see you." And I was like, "Okay, holy shit, he remembered me." And we didn't book a time with him. He just walked right over and sat down and was ready to talk. And the Nevada SID was having to go. I'm not trying to, this is not a look at us type thing. Hey, but I don't know. I was very happy to be there for what we've built. I mean, I've had Eric's done a great time. I'm rambling. Eric's done a great job with rambling and whatnot, but I think what we've built, and at least my background, and Ed, and Rick, you've been as valuable to this. We're each valuable to the show. I don't know. It doesn't get old for me. I don't get like, I've been maybe a little starstruck once or twice. I met Tony Gwynn, and I thought Lamont Butler, I got a little bit of starstruck with him, but I don't know. It's cool. I love going to Vegas. I'll be there again in 2.5 weeks. I wasn't really fond of Resorts World. It is massive. I found a pizzeria there that was phenomenal. It was very good pizza. I'm just partial to Circa, so I look forward to football more because I'm at Circa. I don't know. It was a good time, and we did football media days at the beginning of July. We just did college basketball. College basketball starts in two Mondays from now. So college basketball is right around the corner. I think there's a more buildup to college football and football in general. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I appreciate you and Jacob being there though, man. I'm sorry I was rambling. Go ahead, Rick.
I also just wanted to mention how hospitable everyone from the Mountain West was there working, not just the higher up officials, but everyone working there, from the people serving food to the people helping us get our table set up, to help. The SIDs from every school were so kind to us and, working with us to get guys over to us, treating us the same as a John Rothstein or a BJ Rains. They're, giving us the same respect. And I just really appreciated that. And it was great to meet people from every school and make some connections. So just a lot of nice people, and we're walking around getting ready to end. And then the West Coast Conference Media Day starts. And I don't know, for some reason in that conference, they are a lot bigger. The gentlemen that were walking in from Loyola Marymount, Gonzaga, San Francisco were massive. I never felt so small. But it was cool to see Coach Mark Few was also there from Gonzaga with his players. Sundance Wicks from Wyoming was quite a character there. He was making the rounds and firing people up. So it was interesting to see the different personalities of the coaches. And you could see it in our stream. We had Coach Jared Calhoun from Utah State, very personable guy, really took the time to answer questions thoughtfully and, talk to Jacob and Ryan. And then we also had the coach from Air Force. What's his name, Ryan?
He's my guy. He's Mr. Joe Scott. I love him.
Yeah, and even Coach Patino, as we started the day, the power went out at our table and we're scrambling to try to get the table set up. Well, lo and behold, our first interview at 8 a.m. is supposed to be Coach Patino, and he was gracious enough to come back a little bit later, and he really gave us some patience and time. So I appreciate that. And I think just for the Lobo players, again, Donovan Dent, I think he gave us a lot more, I felt, than what comes across in his press conferences. So everyone should check that out. We'll get that out, clipped out. And Nelly Jr. Joseph, I think a lot of people think he has trouble speaking to the media, but for me, he was great and gave very thoughtful answers to us. And I don't know if we want to lead into this conversation, but I was very surprised that Nelly was not named one of the captains today, as UNM Lobos put out the 3 captains if you want to announce it.
I was going to bring that up next, Rick. Lastly, on Mountain West Conference Basketball Media Days, the 2 best guys we talked to were the Wyoming players. We didn't get to talk to Sundance Wicks, but we got Cole Henry and Kobe Newton. Cole Henry transferred from Northern Iowa, and he was like, I've never been to Vegas. I've never been to California. He's just done the Midwest with the Missouri Valley Conference. And Jacob and I watched college basketball like it's going out of style. He was awesome. Oh.
Sorry.
No, I wasn't sure if you were going to say something, Rick.
Yeah, I was just going to say a few of the other favorites of mine were Ian Martinez,
Ian
Utah
Martinez
State player, and his teammate Drake Allen, who, for anyone who watched the exhibition the other night of Utah State and Weber State, Drake Allen is going to be one special point guard at Utah State this year. He's 6'5" and is a playmaker. And he's really going to push the tempo for them. So I really enjoyed those interviews. And the San Jose State players were also great, with Josh Oduje, transfer from Utah State, and then Will McClendon, transfer from UCLA, were really kind to us and very thoughtful in their answers. So every guy was great. I felt like the Boise State guys, they weren't feeling our shtick. They were not laughing at any of our jokes, probably because it was like the last interview of the day and we're the pit press, we're in almost Lobo gear. But they were still very kind, and they hung around and waited a few minutes while we were interviewing someone else. So
yeah,
all in all, very, very successful day. Very cool to be in that atmosphere for me.
No, it was awesome. And I didn't mention Lindy LaRock, the head coach of UNLV, who she has kind of built a powerhouse with UNLV in the Mountain West Conference. But I'm going to share my screen here now as I try not to be dull. I don't think I want to show you my email. The captains have been announced for the team this year. And it's Donovan Dent, CJ Nolan, and Mustafa Amzil. I mean, CJ Nolan's just been there this year. They expect a lot of long, outside shooting from him. I don't think I'm shocked. Maybe Nelly. But as far as Donovan's a captain. This is his team. Rick, I wanted your thoughts on this. You're the basketball X's and O's guy.
I don't know if this is more X's and O's or just the way they see
team
these guys
as
leaders on the team. We've heard Donovan Dent talk pretty highly of CJ in every interview he's given since CJ joined the team. And I think he mentioned that in some of his media day interviews. If it wasn't on our show, it might have been on Field of 68 or BJ's show. But very high on CJ. It sounds like he's really going to be a knockdown shooter. The interesting thing is per Jeff Grammer's article about the scrimmage the other night, is CJ Nolan actually didn't start, and Philly B started along True Washington, Donovan, I believe Amzil, and Nelly. So I don't know. I guess we can't read too much into scrimmages either way. I think Amzil makes sense. A second-year guy coming back, won Sixth Man of the Year last year for the Lobos in the conference, and also, more importantly, was part of our Pit Press All Snake team, and will be leading that team in nominations this year, hopefully.
We plan to have more. We wanted to talk to Nico Medved and Leo Ress about our All Snake team, because they both mentioned Snake last year. And if my good friend Danny Archuleta is listening, I don't think he is. He worked for UNM, and he's like, I don't understand why you guys give so much credit to why you guys love Snake so much. And I'm like, I mean, why wouldn't we? Rick, you look like you're going to say something else.
I guess I just wanted to mention, like, as far as Nelly, I was expecting him to probably be on this list of captains. I think he's going to be, if not their second best player, one of their other best players this year. If we just think about this time last year, I don't believe he was even in the U.S. yet at that time. And he said what a big adjustment it was for him just to be able to catch those passes from Donovan, because he hadn't played with a guard that passed in that way. And we saw it early. Nelly did have trouble just, handling the ball and finishing. But as the season progressed, he finished strong. And it sounds like he's had a strong offseason, very comfortable, both on and, off the court, having the time in Albuquerque over the last year. So, Nelly was nominated all conference team, and I think rightfully so. I expect him to be there.
You tweeted at somebody that I've followed the last year. He's on Bet US show on YouTube. Wonder if we could get him on. And he's had kind of a falling out with Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports. Then he went back to Barstool Sports. And then on our we don't listen to him anymore. Coach Jason Brown of the Netflix show Last Chance U, who said that Colorado wouldn't win more than 4.5 games. They are now 5-1. You tweeted at Jeff Nadu earlier today and asked him who will win the Mountain West. This was his tweet. Fascinating battle between a lot of solid rosters with great coaches. Colorado State, New Mexico, SDSU are my three favorites. For Colorado State, if Bowen Bourne is healthy, he's really good. Like Boyd coming over to SDSU will be fun. Rick, what did you? I know you were probably talking to your daughter there.
No, one thing I wanted to mention is there was a scrimmage between San Diego State and UCLA. I believe it was last night or 2 nights ago, in which Nick Boyd, McKinney, and another key player for San Diego State did not even play. BJ Davis, second-year player for San Diego State, 4-star guard, 6'2", with a clean shooting stroke, scored, I believe, 29 or 30-some points. And Brian Dutcher said, that's a lot of points even in a high school game, so very impressive. I believe they did turn the ball over quite a bit, but Magoon Guath seems as good as advertised in that scrimmage. And I think, San Diego State is definitely underrated by the way that they were ranked in the media polls. And that's becoming clearer to me the closer we get to the season. At this point, I'm almost thinking that they should be in the top 3, if not maybe number 1, with the talent that I'm now realizing they have. And after hearing Dutcher talk, he doesn't, rebuild. He just reloads. He told Field of 68, why I have the best teams, because I get the best players. And he's not lying. So all these freshmen that we haven't heard of, well, we're going to know about them in a few weeks, right? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Rick. I was going to say, I like talking to Reese Waters seemed like, but Miles Bird was fantastic to talk to from San Diego State. I thought he was great.
Yeah, so I think if you can read into that scrimmage a little bit, they beat one of the top 25 teams in UCLA, or in some polls, I think they're ranked, right?
They're looking on the outside in.
Yeah, they're close.
This is what our friend Nick Lorenzen of Mid-Major Madness tweeted, or at @mid_madness. San Diego State with an impressive secret scrimmage win, 72-67 over UCLA this week, and no Nick Boyd, Reese Waters, or Wayne McKinney for the Aztecs. Sophomore guard BJ Davis dropped 28 points for the Aztec. Freshman guard Taj DeGorville started 13-24. ATO, not pretty for SDSU, but I mean, still, I don't know what that means at the end. I guess I'm too much of a baseball guy to understand that. I don't know. I think that's pretty impressive. And UNM I think Jeff Kramer had a tweet out about that. Other news on the Lobo front. I don't know what this is. It's at Pitt basketball. Pre-combine tournament where there's countries. Okay. Morris Udeze, 2023 Pitt. New Mexico is having a big start to the season for Kobe Storks, Japan too. Again, don't know what that means. Udeze compiled 23 points and 13 rebounds to lead the Storks to an 88-81 win over Kumamoto. For somebody who studied the war in Japan and the war in the Pacific. There's a very good movie called Samurai Cop, where he says that it's a B movie from the early 90s. And he says that he speaks fluent Japanese. Then they cut to a scene where he's going, Fuji. I don't know. It's a great B movie. Look it up. That's how I feel right now. Udeze is averaging 19.3 points per game, 10.2 rebounds in the first 6 games. Obviously I loved Udeze when he was here. Rick, you sent that to me. Those are good numbers. We're big Uncle Mo guy.
Yeah, we're going to have to find out about the Japanese 2 league. I'm not sure if that's the same league Alex Kirk plays in. Or if that's a different level, but we'll do some research. But nonetheless, Uncle Mo putting up big numbers. He did play on the summer league team of the Houston Rockets, and then came over and played for the Enchantment for the basketball tournament game. So good for him, making money playing basketball and putting up big numbers.
I'm trying to think of anything else we can hit on. You know what, Rick? I'm going to go to the comments because they're always the best. All right. Ricky is a good dad. When the men's hoops exhibition schedule, and will they have an Opus practice for game to start? Z Mountain Shadow. Those are secret. Even the media doesn't know. Even G Wade 049, who likes the Journal, even though he supports local journalism more than our show, because guess what? The Journal gets shit wrong too. When the men's, that's I don't know.
Well, we can find out when the exhibition is against UTEP. When is that?
Oh, it's Monday night. It's next Monday night, so we'll be there. SDSU and UCLA in this closed door scrimmage yesterday. SDSU was without a few starters. Take anything away from that other than just a scrimmage, and VCU ripped UVA also in a scrimmage. Well, I don't know what's going on at UVA because Ronnie, you asked that question. What's your take on Tony Bennett retiring right before the season starts? Reason being how athletics is ran these days. I had heard that I think Jeff Goodman had tweeted out that he was really not liking how NIL was ran. And I jokingly thank Nick Clifford for ending America's nightmare with the UVA offense. You're 5 years removed from winning a national title, and he's 55. Obviously, he probably doesn't need money.
But he hasn't won a tournament game since then, Tamari. So let's not act like he's been that successful as of late.
He hadn't won a tournament game since.
Not.
I no,
I heard someone, I can't quote who it was, but that's what I heard, is that he won 5 games, right, in that tournament and hasn't won a game since.
Damn, I didn't know that.
And you brought it up when we were talking with Nick Clifford there at Media Days about how bad they curb stomped UVA in that first round game, and him and Lake were just laughing about it. So yeah, I don't blame him for wanting to go out, but it's kind of unfortunate that he's doing it this close to the season starting. Right?
I mean, you're 2 weeks moved from that.
And I'm gonna have to get out of here, just so you know.
Yeah, no. I think it's kind of I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy that he did it. Amzil scored like 15 points during secret scrimmage. Pretty good. No, man, he turned into a sniper. We talked about it.
I think he'll benefit too from, he was finding his footing the first 10 games before conference play. And
Rick,
Ryan.
Yeah, no, Rick, I wanted your thoughts on this very quickly, and we might elaborate this on tomorrow night's show. We missed on a lot of basketball recruits. Certainly, any comments, boys, Winter Grady, Michigan. Dusty May, what he did, and he goes to Michigan. These are things that we talk about. UNM, I think, is a top 40, 50 basketball school, but they are not like the Blue Bloods and the top 15 or 20. I know Michigan's a football school, but they've played in a national title game twice in the last decade.
The only other one I wanted to mention is Jaden Leverett, big man from Texas that had been looking, I believe, here, Colorado, and a few other schools, signed or did a verbal commitment to Vanderbilt. So the Lobos to this point have signed 2 6'1" guards for the upcoming recruiting class. They missed out on a forward, the local kid from Los Lunas, and now Winters Grady and Jaden Leverett. So I would expect them to be going after some bigger players here, or just wait until the portal, I guess. But I think they still have scholarships to fill, obviously, and they want to have a mix of both portal and incoming guys that they can build up, much like Donovan Dent, Drew Washington, now the freshman this year, Cade and Milicevic, and what's the other guy? Thomas from Texas. So good freshman class coming in this year. I expect them to get a few more big men in this upcoming year's class, though. But it's been a tough hill, missing out on the last 3 or 4.
No, I don't pay attention that close to recruiting. When we have Neff on, he knows the college basketball players like out of his ass. It's fantastic. I think we probably thought we'd lose a little bit of focus on football. I mean, when you win 3 in a row, hey, that's pretty awesome. Again, next Monday is a UTEP scrimmage, so we will be exhibition game for charity. Then the following Monday, November 4th, they open up against Nichols, and then I'm off to UCLA in 2.5 weeks. I'm on a plane in 2 Thursdays from now to go see UCLA, and I haven't been back to Jersey or New York since I moved back, and I'm going to the St. John's game. I'm making a kind of a trip out of it, so I'm excited. Rick, thanks for joining us late. As always, I love.
One final thought. I gotta give a shout out for football to an unsung hero. Is I can't remember his first name, but the tight end, is it Bruckler?
Trace Bruckler.
Man, I loved the 2-point conversion play, but that guy is lining up in the backfield when they run that crossbuck play, and he is laying a trap block on that D tackle time and time again. And let me tell you, that hurts at the end of the night. And he's very responsible for a lot of those big runs. So I just want to give him a shout out because he's not catching a lot of passes or getting a lot of targets, but man, he was laying some great blocks coming out of the backfield on Saturday. Big part of that win.
I'm giving Frank Bercogliano another kudos because I do appreciate his notes. But we appreciated how nice every other SID was at at Mountain West Conference Basketball Media Days, especially the girl for UNLV. I forgot her name, who did the women's basketball team there. Appreciate her. Tight end Trace Buckler scored 2 2-point conversions, giving him a very odd 4 points in the game for tight end. You mentioned his blocking, Rick. You would know that stuff. I'm excited for Colorado State on Saturday. Looking forward to see how they'll do. Rick, appreciate your snake of the day. Rick's snake of the day. Glad, I appreciate everything you've done for the show, and I'm going to say it again. I appreciate you and Jacob. We'll do something tomorrow night. We got to talk basketball. It's a week away, and then 2 weeks away from the scrimmage. Jimmy H again. I'll look at my sundial. We'll have the show ready to go at 8, and we'll come on at 8:20. Rick, thanks for joining us. Ned James, Ed Nunez, and I've always been Wysong. Appreciate everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow night. Everybody have a good Monday. Enjoy the 2 football games tonight. I'm very excited about that. I'm trying to figure out this new thing here on our end stream. Let's see how we do this here. Oh yeah, play outro and end stream. Hey, everybody have a good Monday night. Peace.